I'm just checking real quick, make sure he didn't text me. Okay. All right. So you heard about it, and I called it. I want to say your boy called it a long time ago that this trial was never going to see the light of day, and I think I'm pretty good. So, what did you think about the Fanny Willis disqualification coming down? What did you think about it?
I'd have to say I agree. I feel like I kind of saw it coming. But it was a very interesting read because there was and I may be jumping ahead a little bit, but there was a portion in there from Judge Land where he kind of talked about how he didn't believe that the law was really being applied the way that it should, and that he disagreed with the overturning of the ruling. But I think that they got it right.
Okay. No, do you remember? And we can bring it in. Oh, here we go. Now let me. We know Todd is black. That we do know. We already know that. So you can turn your camera on, Todd, and that will help us out. Well, he's slowly making his way through. Whatever. What page was that on? Do you remember offhand? Because we can look at it real quick. I mean,
I'm sorry, I'm coming down with something.
Okay, don't get sick going into Christmas now. Come on now. What's going on, Todd? How are you, friend?
I'm hoping I got good audio for you. Is this?
You sound fantastic, man.
Oh man, my technical difficulties today are on fleek, as the kids say. Was that old? I think that's probably.
Yeah, I think that's 2019 is calling, man. They want their meme back, my guy. I think 2019 said, "Hey, leave our meme alone." Real quick, Todd. By the way, this is Taylor Umbridge. Todd, Shannon.
Hi, Taylor.
Tell us a little bit about your channel, Mr. Todd, before we jump in and get started tackling this wonderful event called the Fanny Willis disqualification.
Well, hey, my name is Todd, and I think, right? So my channel is Todd Thinks, and I just talk. I start my every show that I do. I'm Todd Shannon, data scientist, social commentator, getter of buckets. And so I just like to talk about everything cultural from a biblical lens, right. And also give buckets. So occasionally you hear some basketball talk from me. That's what I do.
I love it. Well, thanks so much, Todd, for hanging out with us. So do you remember offhand, by any chance, Taylor, what page that was on?
I'm searching for it. I think it's towards the bottom, but I'm finding the page for us.
So I'll just read this part, because I think this part, in my opinion, was a great opening. And it just says, and of course, if you're following along, I did drop the link to this document. The Google Doc is in the description. So thank you, Axel Wheel. I called it a long time ago. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Michael Roman. I'm not gonna read all these people's names, but I'm gonna start right here. They were charged in a 97-page indictment with RICO violations and other crimes in connection with the alleged conspiracy to unlawfully change the outcome of the 2020 presidential election. Pursuant to a granted interlocutory application, the appellants appeal for the trial court's order denying their motion to dismiss the indictment and granting, in part, their motions to disqualify the Atlanta Judicial Circuit District Attorney Fanny Willis, D.A. Willis, and her office. It's really those last three words right there that really seal the deal for us. This is what we said was going to happen back when oh my gosh, I can't remember his name. Scott, what was the judge's name when he did not choose to disqualify Fanny Willis back in the summer? We said this was going to end up happening. He was going to go to appeals, and the Supremes are going to do what he chose not to do. What was his name?
He chose a half measure.
He chose a half measure.
Yeah,
absolutely. Splitting the baby, as they like to say. And even though, and given the fact that he said in his motion that there were a lot of things that were wrong, and that's where the odor of mendacity.
The odor of mendacity, yes.
Thank you. It wasn't Scott McAfee?
Yes, McAfee.
McAfee, okay.
It was McAfee. I don't know about a Scott.
Right. McAfee. Thank you so much. But the odor of mendacity, like, but where did the odor come from, Judge? Like where's the rot? Where is the rot? And I just don't get. So I always thought that was weird that he did that, but I figured this was what was going to happen. And we can look at more of it, but I know I want to bring in the actual newscast that has been hitting the airwaves today, and just kind of talk about it. Hear what you all think about it. So give me a second as I filibuster because I closed out the window and didn't have it back up and ready. So I got to like fake the funk. But you know what I could do? You know what? Because this is probably going to be the last time we do it. Guess what?
Welcome back to season 4 of As the Peach Rots. In this suspenseful 4th season, we marinate the feeder of Georgia's political elite in the tangy vinegar of accountability. In a state where the odor of mendacity toxifies the air, our perspicacious team of chatroom investigators is on a mission to peel back the layers of deceit and uncover the truth. From backroom deals to embezzlement scandals, no stone is left unturned in our pursuit of justice. But as tensions rise and alliances shift, who can be trusted in the Peach State? Join us for a season ripe with virality, where even the fruit isn't safe from corruption, because sometimes the juiciest scandals are right under your nose.
I think that's the perfect thing to end the season 4 with, as the Peach Rot. So I mean, it's like a soap opera. Let's just tell the truth. It seemed like a soap opera. Just every day was something new. Every week it was something new, twist and turn. It just seemed like a soap opera. So let's here we go. Let's talk about it.
He's got to get to Fulton County, Georgia. And here we go. A Georgia Court of Appeals has disqualified the Fulton County DA, Fanny Willis, from that election interference case. It's coming down right now. The case against Trump and more than a dozen others already largely stalled, as you know. That it will be up to the prosecuting attorney's council in the state of Georgia to find another prosecutor to decide on the case, to take it over and make a decision as to whether or not they continue with a prosecution. Incoming president.
Deputy Assistant Attorney General John Yoo is here. John, does this mean that this is yet another one of the cases against Trump that could go away before he's president?
I'm gonna stop real quick. What do y'all think about that, Todd?
Well,
Taylor?
Pretty much all of them have been pretty well bogus. The only case that had any teeth was maybe the classified documents case, because that's, I mean, by the letter of the law, it's pretty open and shut, but they couldn't even make that really stick because they treated Joe Biden so differently, right? So in every case, it's always unequal weights and measures, as the Bible says. The 16 the Lord hates, 7 things are about one of the unequal weights and measures.
Weights and measures.
So, yeah, no, I think this is the nail in the coffin. This one was they were trying to hold on to it by a shoestring anyway, because they were going to have to wait until after the presidential, his second term. It's like, come on, man, that reeks of desperation.
Yeah, what do you got to say, Taylor? Or do you have any opinion?
I absolutely think it's going to go away. I think that I do believe that she's going to try and appeal this, but I don't think anybody else is going to step in at this point to try and carry it out. So I think it's a wrap.
All right. I'm the king of tinfoil hat conspiracies. I think if they had thrown this away back in the spring when they should have, it would have had a very detrimental effect on her reelection bid this past November. And because remember, the YSL trial fell apart just a few days before the election. Imagine having the Trump case thrown out in the spring, this thing limping along, and it finally just dies right before the election. I think it would have had a serious ramification. So I'm not saying that we did it on purpose. I'm just saying they held out until, even when they announced that they weren't going to hear the appeal until the 16th, 17th of December, I knew it was over, because I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. The election is already done. And so I'm wondering if maybe, just maybe, in order to keep her, so she didn't have to eat crow and actually admit that this is a trash case, just let it ride out, let the Supremes throw it out, and then she doesn't have to admit that she failed, because she still hasn't even admitted that the YSL trial was garbage. So, and that fell right in our faces. Fell right in our faces. So I'm wondering if this is what happened. Go ahead.
But you know what the orthodox position is for the left, right? You can't ever do something detrimental to a woman of color.
Oh,
Right? If it's a woman of color, it doesn't matter how terrible they are, how incompetent they are, how little merit anything they do has. If you are seen raising your hand against a woman of color, it's kind of like, some of those people in India that worship the cows or whatever. It don't matter if they're starving, they won't eat them.
yeah.
It's the same thing. It's like a liturgical, religious commitment that they have, that women of color must be held in high esteem no matter what.
And
Real issue.
I agree with you. Shout out to women of color that work hard. Go ahead, Taylor.
Absolutely. Shout us out. Okay. But I still think that I'm gonna go with the admission of defeat. I don't think that she wants to let this go, because even if it did, let's say, fall apart that first time around, I honestly don't believe the voters of Fulton County would have still swayed the other way. I think that I do think that Courtney Kramer came out, swinging as hard as she was going to swing, I'll say, but I just don't think that it would have done. I don't think it would have hurt her from a voting perspective. Okay,
I'm going to disagree, because I'm going to let me tell you. And first of all, let me answer one question real quick. No, she's had another. She wasn't on this RICO case, but the Atlanta cheating scandal. Somebody said this, so she's never. Oh, there it is, right there. No, she worked for Paul Howard during the Atlanta cheating scandal. That was a RICO case, and so effectively she did win that. There were people who were thrown in jail. It didn't last, 700,000 years and stuff like that. So there are people in jail right now because of the Atlanta cheating scandal. So she did actually. That is a RICO that she was successful in. Oh. All subsequent RICOs have pretty much fallen flat on their faces. Okay, play with me here. Just go work with me. If this case had gotten thrown out in the spring, that would have been effectively blood in the water for all the sharks. And I'm just going to say that Courtney Kramer is a shark, and that would have emboldened her, because at the current moment, Fanny Willis had not experienced any real bona fide defeats that could really be said that you lost that. Now, we say that she was losing all the time. We were saying every time that the gavel hit in one Charlie, she was losing, but there wasn't a real true bona fide we could put our finger on and say that was a failure.
Mm-hmm. So the YSL case wasn't a failure? No,
I'm saying, but it had not fallen apart yet.
Oh, I see.
We were saying it every day.
Right.
It was the YSL trial was in one Charlie, so that's why I say courtroom 1C. So we were saying it, the YouTube community and everybody else is watching, saying you're failing, but she was saying, "Oh no, I'm winning left and right." So she had not had an actual loss that was demonstrative. Imagine if she had lost that Trump case back in the spring. What would that have done this whole summer? Now, again, Courtney Kramer still might have lost, but I don't think she would have lost as bad as she lost, because I think there would have been more motivation, blood in the water to get going, to get moving. Like, oh man, she really is hobbled. She does have a chink in her armor. We can possibly unseat the juggernaut. That's what I think would have happened.
I think her unseating would have had to come from another opponent from that party, though. I just struggle seeing the voters switch party or vote across their party lines. But I do think, now that you say it like that, I do think that there was an opportunity there that could have challenged the position. But I don't know if it would have came from Kramer.
No, and that's fair. I'll accept that. Let me say it like this: a shark, in my example, it doesn't have to be Courtney Kramer shark. It could have been another one. I mean, there were lots of other people that maybe would have been energized. Like, oh, she collecting the L? Oh, okay. And she was big. She was big and proud about how she's going to bring down Trump. Oh man, this might be the opportunity. So maybe it would have been somebody else potentially could have jumped out. So that's all I'm saying. But all right, let's keep this going. Let's see what else we got.
It's another example, Dana, of this lawfare campaign that was waged by Democrats, boomeranging back on them and falling all around their ears. Anyone who watched this trial, remember, this is the DA who claimed that the entire Trump reelection campaign was something like an organized crime racket that was intending to deprive everyone of our civil rights to vote. But remember, we saw the dramatic testimony over the summer of how DA Fanny Willis had hired her boyfriend, essentially, to be the special counsel, overpaid him, and then had him investigate and bring charges against Donald Trump. It's a complete conflict of interest. And if you take a quick look at the Georgia Appeals Court decision here, that's what it says. There's such an appearance of impropriety, an appearance of a conflict of interest, that Fanny Willis should not be the prosecutor. I think this spells yet another case that's going to have to either be suspended or more likely just ended and tossed out. It's hard for me to see another Georgia district attorney wanting to take up this flawed case and try to prosecute Trump on these theories that his reelection campaign was some kind of criminal organized crime enterprise.
John.
All right. What do you think? Todd, what you got? Taylor?
I think that's interesting. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Todd.
No. I was saying ladies first. I stepped on you last time.
No, it's okay. I think that was interesting because it's the appearance of I can't say the word all the time. It's the impropriety. It's the R's. I'll get it together once I get through law school. But it's the appearance of the behavior, right? Did they prove the actual behavior? And that's what the dissent that Judge Land talks about on page 20 of it. You can have the appearance, but what is the actual constitutional violation? So I found that to be interesting, but I still feel like it was enough.
I agree. And I think also, and maybe it's just my mind thinking like this, but I'm wondering where they're saying, like, if we allow this to continue on, it's only going to set up for later on there to be an appeal, there to be more ammunition later on, for kind of like what we said with McAfee, that by him not throwing it out and giving them all of this ammo to actually take to the appeal, I'm wondering if the Supreme just said, look, this is, though we might not have a law per se, there's a real problem that's going to only cause more and more backlog in the Georgia system if we don't do something about this right now.
Yeah, but I think if you from what I recall from that, when they were questioning Fanny, she was just obviously lying. And I don't know that from any sort of statutory position whether they could pin and prove that she broke a law, but she had lost the trust of the people, right? And the whole idea of the district attorney is you're supposed to be the top cop. You can't, if the people don't think you're honest, then that's just a stain on the entire justice system. So I think there was what's his name? McAfee, he should have had the courage to pull the trigger when that case was before him and disqualified her. He did a half measure, but I think he already knew. He kind of put the poison pill.
Oh yeah.
He wasn't responsible for the death blow, but he put that little poison pill in there. And she said, "Yeah, it's like those kung fu flicks. You take 7 steps and then your spleen explodes."
Kill me.
No.
Oh yes, Taylor knows. She watches kung fu. You need to get up on it, Jason.
Well, clearly, I will put that on my list.
Like they do some magical punch, right? And then you don't die until the 7th step. He did the punch. He just let her take the steps.
You watch kung fu too, Taylor?
Absolutely, I grew up on that.
Yes,
man,
we got to send you some flicks. Have you never seen Kill Bill? At least.
Let me go back to another show. I've never watched Kill Bill.
Kill Bill, man, classic.
Never watched it.
Classic.
I didn't understand what was the big hoopla, but you know what I do want to understand? What the rest of this interview is. Let's go.
A couple of things here. There are 14 others that face charges. I don't know what happens to them, but she can appeal to the state Supreme Court in Georgia. But given what the Supreme Court said in Washington about immunity, I mean, does the state Supreme Court even take her case in Georgia?
It's a good question, Bill. I think what's going to happen here, along the lines of possible appeals and so on, is it looks likely, because of that presidential immunity decision by the Supreme Court, that any kind of state prosecution of President Trump would have to be at least suspended, if not dropped. You're seeing that going on, those arguments going on right now up in New York City with the case being heard by Judge Merchan. So even if they could get past immunity, they'd still have to suspend it while President Trump was in office. But furthermore, you'd have to go back and then scrub the whole indictment, scrub everything the grand jury did, and say you've got to eliminate anything that used official actions by President Trump, any evidence that came in from White House officials, from anything the president was doing in the Oval Office, they might actually fatally handicap this prosecution and require the whole thing to be dismissed.
It's interesting, too, because she had this novel way of trying to get at him through RICO. Was that a mistake as well? In addition to her personal behavior, obviously, is what they're saying here. But in a way, it was this like novel idea, like, how can I be the one to take Trump down? That's for like politically, she wanted that reputation.
Yeah. Dana, you and I remember we're Justice Department alums. Yeah, I remember you when you were there and I was there and we were, there after the days of 9/11. And you can use this kind of statute, RICO, to try to go after real organized crime, drug cartels, mafia organizations. DA Fanny Willis introduced, I think, a really dangerous theory, was that we could use these powerful tools that are used for terrorists and drug cartels and apply them to political campaigns, and not just any political campaign, but the campaign by the leading opposition candidate at that time, Donald Trump, the head of one of the two major parties in the country. I think ultimately the whole thing would have been tossed out because of violate the free speech rights of Donald Trump, the free speech rights of the Republican Party, and actually a lot of Americans who supported him. So I think in the end, this whole thing was going to come crashing down around Fanny Willis's and the Democratic Party's ears. Anyway.
Well,
Jason, you're on mute, brother.
I'm on mute. You know about that? Todd, what do you think about that, man? There was a lot there.
I have a lot to say about that. See,
let's go.
See, so here's the thing. The whole RICO case, let's just think about it. The whole idea,
you're doing it. That's where I was going to go. Go ahead.
The idea that Donald Trump was like pulling the marionette strings and that there was just broad scale collusion to fabricate election results or to steal the election. First of all, that was an idea that was popular politically during the time, and it's why this case was even allowed to go on as long as it did. And I think what they are realizing, and this to me is everybody on the left to me has gotten, the political version of jailhouse religion. They realize now that they have lost, and that political sentiment of Donald Trump as this criminal mastermind pulling the strings and trying to defraud the people of elections, they know that idea is not popular. And not to mention the fact that legally the case was probably weak. So I think that's why the whole RICO thing was just ridiculous from the beginning. They would have had to try to prove that, first of all, Donald Trump, with full knowledge that he didn't win, and I've got a lot to say about that. I've got a lot to say about that. I mean, I don't know if you guys are in Atlanta. Do you remember the night of the election? Sorry, I'm gonna rant here for a second. Do you remember the night?
You want to go to big screen?
Now you can keep us all here.
Screen, okay.
Yeah. Night of the election. Remember they stopped counting in State Farm Arena.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
They said a pipe had burst. Okay, a pipe burst, so they stopped counting.
You don't believe in a pipe burst, man?
Okay. Come to find out, not only did a pipe not burst, okay, that was a complete fabrication, but they told the poll watchers that were there, you can go home. We're not going to count anymore. The poll watchers went home and they resumed counting. Now Taylor's like, oh, I didn't know this. I can tell by the. Yes, this is interesting.
That was crazy.
This is interesting. I covered it on the night, the day after it, and I was so furious because I'm like, this is so obviously shady.
For sure.
They reported an incident that didn't happen, and they forced poll watchers to go home under the pretense of something that didn't happen. And then they're sitting there saying Donald Trump has no reason to think when he lost by a few thousand votes. He has no reason to think he knew he lost. He was just making it up. It's a bunch of nonsense. And at the time, if you said it on your YouTube channel, they would shut it down. So not only did they, so I hope they don't shut down the stream. I think right now,
please don't.
I think right now they have loosened the clenches of that because I think that, like I said, the jig is up. Everyone on the left, I think, has got a little bit of jailhouse religion, and that they know that it's not a popular sentiment to try to smother those ideas and not let people talk about it. But at the time, That was the whole pretense. And so that's the backdrop of this whole RICO case, is that Donald Trump was cheating. He knew he lost. He was trying to find fake votes, and there was no legitimate reason for him to think that there was any shenanigans going on. But that was such an obvious lie. So
Right.
that's what I think about it. So that's the whole context.
No, I agree. What you going to say, Taylor?
Yeah, I just find it interesting because to me, it just seems like that Fanny Willis has a high level of confidence in the way that RICO statute is written. She understands it. And I think she understands it at a level that most people don't, because I'm not going to downplay her intelligence. I think she's an intelligent woman. Yeah. I think she found a way to weaponize that statute for political gain. And that this particular time, she bit off more than she can chew, and it's falling out of her mouth.
I'm going to say that
well said.
I think the Atlanta cheating scandal made her head too big. Because there was 100, don't quote me on this, 168 educators and persons in APS that were brought up on RICO. And I want to say they whittled it down to like 111. And again, maybe like 30 might still be in jail, something like that. So, I mean, those are some big numbers, like lots of pleas, lots of revoked teaching certificates, lost pensions, and all of that kind of stuff, because teachers were trying to, because APS at that time had merit pay for your students' standardized test scores. So there was sad to say, it was like the law of unintended consequences, that there was a big push, a big incentive for your class, Miss Bumblebee's class or Mr. Caterpillar's class, to do really well in the spring. And you know, and I'm not justifying it, because I wasn't teaching at APS at that time, but I'm aware of what happened, and I understood, because they had it 2 years before, and I got merit pay that the 2 years prior, so I understood what it was that they were doing. So I think that success of using RICO, and I will even say abusing RICO and twisting it in that way to use against teachers, the next logical step was to use against your political enemies.
Yeah.
Like if you know, I'm using RICO against Todd here on YouTube, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, that would be the next logical step.
Well, it seems like that could, I mean, there again, I'm not familiar with that case at all. And I am not an attorney, obviously, but it seems like, at least in principle, that could be a legitimate, deployment of the statute, right?
I still think it was wrong.
Oh, okay.
Now, I think it was wrong because when you think about what it was used for, we're talking, we're talking international gangs. We're talking about, drug cartels. We're not talking about Miss Bumblebee that got $500 because her kids did better. She's a paraprofessional.
Well, so how did it? But my question would be, how did it go, like, hierarchically? Because one of the main kind of functions of a RICO case is that there's somebody at the top kind of.
There's hierarchical. You can do the pyramid. You can make the pyramid from. Okay. You can go from the principal down, or the APs and the learning coaches, the reading coaches, down to the kindergarten teacher. You can do the hierarchical.
But the people
is that what it was really for, though?
On their hands, and so that's why it's hard to get them without the RICO.
You could have still said that they were cheating. They still cheated, and that was still breaking the law. You didn't need to bring them up on RICO to do that. Now, granted, you would have been charging. They would still be in court today because they had 168 of them, but probably not, because it was almost a decade ago. But you got my point. I still don't think RICO. Again, when we're talking about Don Corleone over here, moving kilos, and then we got Miss Butterfly over here trying to get little Raekwon improving his SAT. I mean, his standardized test score. They ain't the same.
Run a legitimate business here.
Yeah,
this is waste management. You're breaking my corners,
So what are you about to say, Taylor? We got Todd Corleone over here.
Hey, Tito. Hey, I says to my cousin Vinny the other day, I said to him,
we gotta finish this video, you crazy people.
But that's what I mean, though, right? Just the language in the RICO statute itself is she knows it well enough to apply it to any situation.
Sure.
But and I'm hoping that this will actually I'm hoping that Georgia will rein in, because we've all joked about it. But there's following the logic that Fanny used, there's a lot of things that you do on a regular basis that are RICO, that could be brought up in some kind of RICO. I mean, your church. I mean, your fraternity, your gym. I mean, there's so many places that could, the loosey-goosey definition that they use. That's what I'm saying, like, bring it back in. And again, if somebody at Todd's gym breaks the law, the gym owner breaks the law, throw the book at him, throw the book at her, but don't, tie Todd up in the thing. That just doesn't seem like it just seemed like a slippery slope that's only going to create far more problems than you really want. Because now you're here with egg on your face, because you could have maybe there was some crimes that were committed, and maybe you could have finessed it. I don't know. But this big RICO thing really stymied up the pot, and now you're looking at another L.
Big L. She got to hold that.
Yeah, she got to hold this whole L. Let's get this done. Let's go.
It seemed complicated from the beginning. There is that case here in New York that's still out there, the 34 counts in Judge Merchan's courtroom. He made a ruling about a week ago that the conviction still stands, but the penalty will be judged at a later date. John, do you think that later date ever happens now?
I think this is Judge Merchan really still trying to go after Donald Trump. You think about it. If you look, Bill, you mentioned the presidential immunity case. There's a footnote, a really important footnote in that opinion that says states, even if they're prosecuting a president for private acts, can't use evidence from the presidency. They can't use what Donald Trump said in the Oval Office. They can't use what White House officials said. Nevertheless, Judge Merchan went ahead and held a trial and introduced that kind of evidence. He should, at the very least, order a new trial, if not force the DA to go back to it. But what Merchan is doing, which I think is still dangerous, is he's dangling these charges still, the sentencing, over the head of Donald Trump and saying, well, I can't sentence you now. Maybe I won't. He still he could try to get in before the inauguration, but he shouldn't. But he's going to say, I'm going to dangle that over your head for the next 4 years, and I'm going to be waiting for you when your presidency is over.
Well, you have to think he's doing the work of Alvin Bragg, right, Dana? At the moment. I mean, he works for the DA, right, John?
I don't know.
I won't say he's doing. I'm sure Bragg loves this idea, because Bragg is trying to make his career out of harassing President Trump. And this is a terrible thing for not just Donald Trump, for all Americans, because of the presidency. You don't want presidents to have to try to make the toughest decisions on behalf of the country and have to worry, what's going to happen to me when I come out of office? Is this two-bit judge?
You have to be able to have clear decision making. Indeed, John, you stick around for a moment. We have some other breaking news. Bill,
all right. Ooh. All right. What did y'all think? What did y'all think? Todd?
Well, he mentioned obviously the hush money case out of New York. That one of all of them was the weakest.
I agree.
By far, because and it's probably the one that's even more difficult to understand. They resurrected a charge that was past the statute of limitations, and then it was a state case, and the only way they could make it federal is if they tied it to campaign finance, which was not a violation of campaign finance, but they kind of shoehorned it in there, and then they got a conviction when it wasn't even clear what the charge was. They actually told the jury, hey, maybe it was falsified documents. Maybe it was this other thing. You don't even have to agree what he was guilty of. You just have to agree that he was guilty of something.
Something, right?
And that's like the most bizarre and unethical and completely. Again, I'm not an attorney, but I play one on television.
I play one on TV. Yeah, absolutely.
But the point was, it was just so silly, and I think all of this lawfare stuff, I'm just thankful that it's coming to an end. It's silly. It's ridiculous. There's no merit to it. The American people have spoken. Fanny is out. Judge Merchan is soon going to be out on his deathbed. He will be out of favor. And anyone else with this silly lawfare, they'll all be gone.
I got you. What you got, Taylor?
So I didn't really follow the hush money trial, but just listening to what Todd said, if that's how they got that conviction, yikes. I don't think that it would go well over. I mean, we saw what happened the last time. I'll say that. And so trying to hold this over his head until the end, I don't know how that looks for us.
No, I agree 100%. Now, before we get out of here, because I didn't want to keep y'all too long, I do want to bring in this little segment right here. Lady Taylor had brought up the dissenting view from Judge Land. And I do want to check this out because I want to just see what you all think about it. And definitely in the comments, let us know what you think. Now, Judge Land says as follows: because the law does not support the result reached by the majority, I respectfully dissent. I'm particularly troubled by the fact that the majority has taken what has long been a discretionary decision for the trial court to make convert it to something else entirely. If this court was the tier of fact and had the dissension to choose a remedy based on our own observations, assessments of credibility of the witness, and weighing of evidence, then perhaps we would be justified in reaching the result declared by the majority. But we are not trial judges, and we lack the authority, given the unique role of the trial court and the fact that it is the court which has broad discretion to impose a remedy that fits the situation as it finds it to be. We should resist the temptation to interfere with the discretion, including its chosen remedy, just because we happen to see things differently. Doing otherwise violates well-established precedent, threatens the discretion given to trial courts, and blurs the distinction between our respective courts. Did you want me to read more, or how was that?
I get the gist of what they're
I
saying.
was talking to Taylor. I was like, I thought Taylor was going to add some commentary. I don't want to just keep reading it because I know you brought this up. Go ahead.
Yeah, you got to keep going. He's basically saying you're asking us to make a decision that we shouldn't do because we don't do what the trial court does. And so you got to keep going. I think it's in this little blurb right here.
Okay. Our role as appellate judges is critically important, but it often requires restraint. We are here to ensure the law has been applied correctly and to correct harmful legal errors when we see them. It is not our job to second guess trial judges or to substitute our judgments for theirs. We do not find the facts, but instead defer to the trial court's factual findings where there is any evidence to support them. We review the trial court's rulings in a motion to disqualify a prosecutor for abuse of discretion. Such an exercise of discretion is based on the trial court's findings of fact, which we must sustain if there's any evidence to support them. And we already know those cases right there. Here, the trial court expressly finds that appellants failed to show that the district attorney had an actual conflict of interest, failed to show that she received any material financial benefit as a result of her relationship with Nathan Wade, failed to show that she had personal stake in the conviction of a defendant, failed to show that her relationship with Wade involved any actual impropriety on her part, and failed to show that their relationship, including their financial agreements, had any actual impact on the case. I'm gonna stop for a second. And not to disagree and argue with a judge by any means, but some of those I disagree with. Like, there's no impropriety. Like, wait, like you're saying that they didn't show any impropriety? Now, maybe you can argue the whole financial advancement, but I still think that was pretty clear. But no impropriety at all? Like, that doesn't make. I'm sorry.
Listen, the thing about there was there was no there was no material gain from Nathan Wade. Can somebody explain this to me? If a woman is in a relationship with a man and she hopes one day, in principle, to be his long-term partner, i.e. his wife, is that is that not a conflict of interest? As far as like her involvement with Nathan Wade, they're trying to say that so she paid him a lot of money, but they're saying, well, there's no proof that she got any sort of, I guess remuneration back or something to that effect. But I'm just like, I'd look at it as an investment for a down payment to be wifey.
Well, let me add.
That's what he's saying, though, Ty. He's saying just because it looks like that doesn't mean that's what it is. The appearance of that doesn't make it that.
Okay,
I agree with that, but the appearance matters, right? So I guess what people might say, well, the appearance is not technically a violation of the law. Well, I guess you could also say that if I as a married man emerge out of a hotel room with another woman, that doesn't mean that I slept with her. But if I have an obligation to uphold a certain image and standard, which a district attorney certainly does, then that appearance, i.e. the odor of mendacity, right? Then that appearance matters. And
see what I'm doing.
They don't understand that.
And I agree. I agree with it. I'm just looking at the document. It's just interesting.
No, I'm not. I'm just voicing my opinion, right? I'm saying that's their argument, and I respectfully disagree.
Yeah.
I totally disagree. And I was literally about to bring up Travis Hunter in here, and I was going to bring hold on now. Hold on, because I think we could all see some problems in Travis Hunter, but following this logic of this argument, and I know we are now going way lower than a Georgia Supreme Court ruling, but I think there's something there. Like we wouldn't say that same thing. Like, for example, if Nathan Wade and Fanny Willis got engaged, I think we would all look at what happened in the past, this past spring and summer, differently if they were engaged now. Does that make is that fair? I think we would all say, yeah, like I mean, people looking at the ring, comparing it to Young Thug's watch and all this kind of crazy stuff, right? So I think the word that Todd used is investment. I think, I can see it as that. I can see it like he's putting something into a relationship that later on he will reap something from, or there'll be a benefit to him from. Now, I'm not saying they were trying to get married. I'm not trying to say that, but just the long-term partnership relationship, Oprah and Stedman, long-term relationship and partnership, and there's other people like that. There's a benefit to that. So
I 100% agree with you guys. I love a good argument, right? And so when I was reading it, I was like, this is interesting, because while it is an ethical violation somewhere, some books, it's definitely an ethical violation. Where is the constitutional? Where's the breaking constitutional rights? Like where does it truly exist? So I don't agree with what he's saying. I think that, like I said at the start, I think that they got it right. I just love a good argument, and I honestly appreciate what he put out there.
No, I like that, and I don't want to just say, hey, yeah, I want her out of here too, and it's going to go along. And I appreciate the pushback as well. It's just that I don't know if I agree with all of these. Some of these I agree with. I'll give you that. Like, hey, they failed to show, let me see, the conflict of interest. I do think, you know what, maybe they didn't do a good job of showing the conflict of interest. But are you trying to say there was no financial benefit to it? I'm sorry. I think that was a reach.
You was up there when I showed the checkbook, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's a problem. Like there was a lot of evidence shown to that. And
what they call my man was calling her Fanny Cash Only Willis.
Fanny, Cash Money G. I mean, there's lots of jokes.
Come on, I was like, oh no, I keep cash in my house, and I don't know what it's like. Stop it.
Just stop
it. That sounds like money laundering to me.
Yeah. Let's see. And okay, because there was some evidence presented to the trial court that supported these findings, we are bound to accept them. Okay. The majority does not dispute these findings. Rather, it holds with the citation of no supporting authority, and apparently for the first time in the history of our state, that the mere existence of an appearance of impropriety. Okay, the only reason I'm laughing about that is there's a lot of existence of impropriety in the YSL trial. There was a lot of it. I mean, I don't know if we would have got away with, if Love would have got away with, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, there was a lot of that. There was an appearance of impropriety. It appears that you're saying that you were going to put, was it 24 million on Todd's head? It appears like that, but it was ludicrous. I'm sorry. Okay, let's keep going. And, sorry, impropriety in and of itself is sufficient to reverse the trial court's refusal to disqualify the district attorney and her entire office. That's the part that I really want to drive home. This is the entire office is disqualified because of this. As shown below, the law does not support this outcome. Rather, it compels precisely the opposite. Whereas here, a prosecutor has no actual conflict of interest, and the trial court, based on the evidence presented to it, rejects the allegations of actual impropriety, we have no authority to reverse the trial court's denial of a motion to disqualify. None. Even where there is an appearance of impropriety, our binding precedent and doctrine of stare
decisis.
Say again?
I think it's stare decisis, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Taylor is our resident law school aficionado and Latin expert.
Take a Latin class.
Girl, come on. I'm going to call it Starry Night. All right, Starry decisis. That's all right.
I only know it because I've heard it pronounced before. I had actually never seen it written until just now. So
well, there we go. Well, Starry Night requires our restraint and do not permit us to impose a different remedy than the one chosen by the trial court, simply because we might see the matter differently and might have chosen to impose another remedy had we been the trial judge. For at least the last 143 years, our appellate courts have held that an appearance of impropriety without an actual conflict of interest or actual impropriety, I don't know where he's seeing that there isn't an impropriety, that there isn't a conflict of interest. I just don't see it. But I mean, given the fact of how much data Fanny Willis didn't give up and didn't put forward, and now stuff that we've learned about, like, you know, Nathan Wade meeting with the J6 and other things of that nature, okay, provides no basis for the reversal of a trial court's denial of a motion to disqualify. This is true in civil cases, criminal cases, and in appeals to prosecutors. Our Supreme Court first addresses this issue in 1981 after a trial court disqualified an attorney based on an appearance of impropriety arising from the fact that the counsel for a caregiver was married to an attorney who previously represented the proponder of the will. Wow. That's a long tail. Anybody want to add anything before I jump in? Concluding that counsel should not be disqualified under the circumstances, the Supreme Court declared that although the issue has never been squarely addressed in Georgia, courts in other jurisdictions have rarely been willing to disqualify an attorney based on the appearance of impropriety alone, where there is no danger that the actual trial of the case will be tainted. I think that one is not the same apples to apples. Do you agree? You're muted, love.
Oh no, I think his case law sucks.
But I'm just wondering. I don't think that's an apples to apples, because it's just saying, hey, this lawyer was married to somebody who executed a will. We're not talking about, but that's not the same as Fanny Willis hired her boyfriend and all the other things that compounded on. I think those are a little bit different, in my opinion.
I think it was too. I think it was too, because I think when you talk about a will, I think that there's a clear thought on no, Todd, I'm not an attorney yet. There's a clear thought of something that may, you know, if you are an attorney and you're married to somebody who's getting ready to inherit something, I think that it could possibly look like, you know, you're going to benefit from that. But I don't think with Fanny's situation, I think it's opposite. I don't think his case law that he used supported his argument. It supports theirs more. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I do.
I agree.
Yeah. And I don't know. I know that this has nothing to do with the law or what have you, but I think that the political context of this entire case is really what killed it. I mean, that's just my opinion, because I just don't think there's the political will there to continue down this lawfare road. It was dicey from the beginning. They saw that it backfired. It obviously backfired. Donald Trump won. And now I think what everyone involved with any sort of lawfare against Donald Trump, I think they want to distance themselves away from this sort of stuff as quickly as possible. And I think in a different context, I think had Donald Trump lost, for example, and that would have been kind of a referendum against, you know, MAGA or what have you, I think the political will would have remained. Appearance of impropriety or not, I think they would have left Fanny Willis on the case, but I think they just want to get past this stuff. That's my opinion. And I think all of this legal argumentation is kind of it's window dressing. I don't really think it's about any of these arguments. I think they just want to move on because they lost, and like they're going to have jailhouse religion politically. They say,
Right.
Suddenly we see what everyone was saying, that the lawfare is bad. It's like, no, you should have seen it before. It was always bad, and now you just have the will to do it because you lost.
I'm gonna just jump in and add, if Trump had lost, I think they would have. I think these cases still would have gone away. I don't think they were for anything but campaign interference.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's possible. You know?
So I don't think, again, like if he had lost, there'd been like no reason for him. He's not going to be. They would have just said, "Hey, he's not going to be president." This case was proves that the American people, the vote rather proves that the American people don't want him. Blah blah blah. Let him go out to pasture and like Yeller. But that's what I think. I don't think he would have. I don't think he would have continued. But as I said before, I think all of these, and I've said this before, I think all of these were meant to some way, shape, or form. Whoever got it first would have continued. So the New York one, notice after the New York case, all the other ones started falling apart. All the other ones lost steam after the New York case. And all they wanted to do was tack felon onto his name. That was it.
Yep.
Whoever got it first, it would have, if it had been here in Atlanta, then it would have, all the other ones would have fell apart. If it had been the document case or one of the others, it would have fell apart. I mean, others would have fell apart.
I think it was about the aggregate, just always having Donald Trump's name embroiled in some controversy, right? So they just spam case after case after case. And to your point, Jason, yeah, I think it was mostly about speaking about appearances, right? To create the appearance that Donald Trump was inherently corrupt. How could he possibly not be corrupt if he's got a million lawsuits out against him, and some of them he's got convicted for? I think that's what they were banking on, and it backfired.
I agree. What are you about to say, Taylor?
No, I don't have anything.
Wait, say it again?
I don't have anything.
Oh, okay. Now, I do want to ask y'all. By the way, the article that I was reading, the motion and decision that I was reading is down in the description. I do want to ask y'all though, what do y'all think about Travis Hunter? Go. I mentioned to Todd I was going to throw this out there just to see what chum the water a little bit, because I think this case is very interesting. I think this is going to be a cautionary tale that we are all going to watch in 4K. If you're not familiar, I'm trying to find a good summary of what's going on with his life. What do you got, Todd?
Travis, they gotta have.
Go ahead, Taylor. Go ahead.
They need an older couple that has been in the game a while to sit them down and have a conversation. Go to LeBron James and go grab Savannah and let Savannah coach the girl up on how to behave, how to act in the room. I'm sorry.
Okay, I like it. What you got, Todd?
I think I do think there's some of that going on. I think there's a lot of people who are doing a little bit of mind reading in that they don't think that she is really into him and that she's only hanging around because she wants his money. And I think that's possible, but it also could just be that she is sort of uncouth and untrained and she just doesn't know how to carry herself in public. You know, let's just think about it. She probably come from a lower social economic, from far as I understand, she doesn't come from a family that probably had stability or taught her, what we used to say, home training.
Right.
So it looks really bad. She seems to not be aware of how she presents in public. And that's especially bad when your mate is super famous.
Oh, let me give it real quick. So
Yeah.
Travis Hunter, I'm trying to find a quick. I said I told Todd I was gonna bring this up, but I didn't do my due diligence and find a good segment. So Travis Hunter is a college football player. He played for Deion Sanders at the University of Colorado. Fantastic player. Crushed it this year.
Technically the best football player in the country. Best college
technically.
Heisman Trophy.
And he won the Heisman Trophy just recently.
Mhm.
Well, everything is looking up for this young man. He's from Atlanta, by the way. Shout out to Atlanta. And he just won the Heisman. He plays both sides of the ball, so he plays offense and defense. One of the only two in a long time that ever won the Heisman offensive defensive player. This is one problem. He has a uber problematic girlfriend. Now his fiance. And the dude is extra green. I don't know if you can have greener than green. I don't know what that is, but the dude is extra green. His nose, as our grandmamas would have said, is wide open about this. He believes this girl hung the moon. And she just does some stuff and says a lot of stuff that has a lot of, now mind you, this dude has not signed in the NFL yet. He's probably going to sign. He just signed an Adidas contract. Shout out to Adidas.
I will say he does have money because this is the NIL era.
His money's going 10x in a minute.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So he has a promising future ahead of him. He's extremely young, and a lot of people are just like, my guy, she's going to be a problem. And long story short, a lot of people, older men of the highly melanated community are saying, hey man, your girl is a problem. And he continually pushes back, continually, disagrees with what they're saying and so forth like that. And I just wanted to talk about it for a hot second. I just thought it was very interesting seeing all of the people, because he's unified all different people groups. Everybody agrees. Look, I agree with Umar Johnson. The sky is falling, right? If I'm agreeing, like literally, Umar Johnson has a really coherent video about him. Now, granted, Umar Johnson got his own problems, but I digress.
Yeah.
So that's why we were talking about just a little fun conversation, nothing big and deep. And so, did you have something else, Todd or Taylor?
Now, only thing I would add is that I am probably in the minority in this, where I think that we need to people. I caution people against diagnosing this girl's character from a television screen. I just think that I know it looks bad, but it doesn't mean she's not into him and that they can't fix their situation. Her behavior is bad. I'm not trying to defend that. I'm not defending her behavior, but everybody's just like, man, you got to dump this girl, man. You got to move on. I'm just like, it's, first of all, it's unrealistic. Anyone who's been in love knows that that's not going to happen. Right. But I think that hopefully he will at least hear some counsel about, okay, this girl needs to understand her role, and maybe you need to have a conversation with her about that. And if she reacts sideways about that, then maybe you escalate. right? But I think I just caution against like diagnosing their relationship through the television screen. I just think that's a little much.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would agree with that assertion. I would also say that I think that what Ani is saying, 5 years for someone who is 21 is a long time. And that is why I'm very slow to judge people's relationships, because I feel like we don't know within those intimate moments. And I know one of the things that have come out has been about, her not being someone who would have given him any type of attention. And so I think that there's a lot of different layers to that relationship that we just do not see. And so I would double down on what you're saying and say it again. They need an older couple that understands what is about to come to have a conversation. And if she isn't willing to bend, then you may have to break some things off, or we may have to, take a different route on how, they exercise that relationship. But one thing that I know is that people sometimes have to learn the hard way. And I'm just praying that Travis gets ahead of the ball like he does on that field.
Okay, you did that. Well done. Well done.
There, I see what you
Excellent
did
fun there. I like it. All right. I like that you did that. I definitely am not diagnosing somebody. I'm not saying anything about the woman's character at all.
Sure.
I'm just looking at, if you know that most NFL players are broke after 3 years, no matter how big their contract is, most of them are failed by, the 60th month post-signing contract. It probably would be good to not start on a foot where you could potentially do that and be that person in 6 months rather than 60 months or at all. So I don't know if it's and I'm glad that you brought up like LeBron James' wife and others of that nature that recognize like, hey, my role in this is a support staff. You don't see LeBron James' wife very rarely on camera, very rarely. Now, as far as I know, I think LeBron James can afford an iPhone or, a Galaxy. I don't see his wife, on TikTok talking reckless. She's not on X, sharing the deets. Why? Because she recognizes her role. She recognizes what she's supposed to do. And I feel like that might be something that this young lady should consider. If you want to support this man, when y'all are 60, y'all are taken care of. When you're 60 and your great grandchildren are going to be well taken care of because of this very small window of time that great granddad Travis was exposed to. I don't think that, and also the pushback that Travis is giving to men who clearly know more than him. I mean, whether or not they're in relationships is irrelevant, in my opinion. Okay. Somebody who's traveled this earth longer than me knows more than me. And so I can at least say, let me at least understand what you're saying. I might still not do it, but he moving like, look, I know more than you. Like, that's a recipe, in my opinion, for disaster. And mind you, again, you still ain't signed a contract yet. You still ain't gotten into the game professionally yet. You ain't got hit by a moving Yugo truck yet on a Sunday field. So I think maybe, just maybe, you should move a little bit less reckless. And maybe the person alongside you should move like that as well, in my opinion. Yeah.
And that's another thing too, Jason. They're part of that generation. So they are part of that generation. So the level of respect that most have for authority, I don't even want to call them authority, but for the older generations, it's different. And so somebody's going to have to figure out how to meet them where they're at in order to bring them up. So I just want to call it out.
No, I agree. I think that's fair. It is a generational change. I mean, when you look at he might be 22. Where did they make 22-year-olds, man? What the heck is that? That dude's almost 30 years younger than me. Like, where did they get them from? Where in the world's that? So, I mean, they're moving differently for sure. However, I think a smart person would recognize, like, I have the opportunity of a lifetime. Like George Bailey, I got the opportunity of a lifetime. If you know where that quote came from, let me know. Put it in the comments. Opportunity of a lifetime. But and I could fumble this ball, or I could catch it and I can take it all the way into the house. What am I going to do? I need people around me to help me. So some of the people around him can very well help him that have commented and given advice. They can very well help him. I just would hate to see him as a cautionary tale 2, 3, 4 years from now. And we'd be like, I remember in 2025, everybody was saying this, that, and the other, bada boom, bada bing, and look where he is now, man. So, yeah, and well, it's not really, it's not craziness on his part. It's on her part. So, but go ahead.
In the chat, just for the record, I just wanted to
okay,
let y'all know that, you know, a little courtesy of the Googles.
Boy, shut up. Todd is putting in there how to spell starry night in there. Right. This is a great example. Ooh. Simone Biles and her husband, they move differently.
They do, but Simone also has her own.
That might be a little, yeah.
That might be what? I'm sorry.
She has her own name. You know what I mean? So I think it's slightly different.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and she's more famous. So she probably she needs to know or get some counsel for someone who knows how to play the background role. So the husband is famous and she is not. Simone Biles is the famous one.
Right.
So I don't know how much you can tell her about laying in the cut.
No, I think that's a good catch. I can dig that. I can dig it. I just thought it was an interesting thought experiment to hear what you all thought. I know, and maybe try something different, hear a little bit of different ideas. The chat had some great ideas and such like that. But I do have to push back a little bit here. So hopefully just Ani won't be mad at me. I'm sorry. Your brain isn't even developed at that point. Like, I'm sorry. To say that y'all been together for 5 years and you're 21, that means, that doesn't, to me, that's actually more problematic than it's a benefit in my mind. Because you just got a lot.
LeBron, because they were together young. I'm sorry, Jason, but that's why I go back to LeBron and Savannah, because they were together young.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm not mad about that part. I'm just like, but yeah, they need somebody to come alongside them. How long you been married, Todd?
20 years.
Taylor?
I'm unmarried.
No, I apologize. Please forgive me. I didn't mean to put you on blast like that. I'm sorry.
But not married.
Okay. No, and I've been married 23 years. It'll be 23 years this February. To me, I'm like, I've been married longer than these guys been alive. Bye. Like, I've seen a lot of things change. Goodbye. To me, it just seems like there's just too many obstacles, too many hurdles, too many things that too many corners to go around and get clocked in the eye to say, oh, we've been together 5 years and dating. You ain't married. You're not committed to anything, in my opinion. I don't think that that's saying as much as we wanted to say. I got shoes that are 5 years old. Okay, great. I just changed the soles on them and put them little taps on the bottom. We keep it moving. I'm just here to start fights, though. I love it. What else you got, Todd, on your mind?
Oh man, I can't call it. I got a lot of stuff, but I don't know. I gotta retreat to my cocoon. I got a little brain overload going on. I'm really excited about this Christmas vacation.
Yes, let's do that. Let's do vacation. Anybody do anything fun? Taylor, you do anything fun for Christmas? Do you do anything for Christmas traditions?
We do, but our two oldest aren't spending Christmas with us, so we just have the littles. And this year will be very, very chill because my son, he's 5, he has special needs, and so he's like into Christmas, like he's cool with it, but like he could do without a lot of things.
I got you.
So I don't have to go over the top as I would with the bigger girls, and we've got to build gingerbread houses and paint and all this other stuff. But we will bake our cookies. We will watch our movies in our pajamas and just enjoy each other.
I love it. I love it. Ty, what about you?
You know, I'm just looking forward to not having to go to work. You know, I'm staying home. I do miscellaneous stuff. So during this time, I'm gonna do stuff that I don't normally get a chance to do.
Like those YouTube videos we talked about earlier today.
Oh yeah, stuff like that. Yeah.
Thank you, Todd. Make sure you get them YouTube videos done.
Gotta get.
Thank you, sir. Here to pick fights.
For sure.
Let me write this down. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm looking at what y'all talking about in the chat. All right. Anything else? Let's see what else. Babysitting grandchildren. Thank you so much. Going to go see mom. Thank you so much. Give your mom our best, Miss Mandy, for sure. All right. I'm trying to see if I missed anything else. Simone Biles. There you go. Simone Biles' husband is famous adjacent. But isn't he like he's an NFL player, right?
NFL player, yeah.
Yeah.
He's quasi famous.
Quasi.
Famous.
That's messed up, man. Why you say that man quasi famous, man? What about me?
He caught so much slack. He caught so much slack not knowing that Simone was as famous as she was. So I don't know. That's an angle.
I do kind of remember that. I wasn't invested in that, but I do kind of remember that. People were in their feelings about that. Yeah, that was wild. Okay. What's his name though? Ani said, that's a great question. See, that's famous adjacent people. We only know what their names are.
Chris Owens, I thought, or what's his last name?
Oh, really?
I think his last name is Owens.
Taylor is a football fan. Look at that. Get it, girl. Get it. Look, you would have me beat. All right, my good people. What else? I think that is it. I'm gonna get y'all out of here. I want y'all to go wrap presents and pop popcorn, all that kind of stuff like that. Did you Google it though?
It's Jonathan. There we go. Jonathan.
Oh, there we go. All of the Google aficionados have come out of the woodwork. I love it. I love it. But I want y'all to get out of here. Have a fantastic Christmas, y'all. Enjoy yourselves. Thank you to the best live chat on the internet. Thank you to the Todd gangsters as well as the Taylor gang that jumped in here. I see lots of people. Matter of fact, if you don't mind, if you Taylor gang, go and put Taylor gang in the chat. Todd, what do you call your thinkers? The thinkers?
I just call them the Todd Thinks community.
All right. TTC in the building. Absolutely. I see my brother Willie Doc up in here for sure. But y'all, I thank y'all so much. Thanks for coming on, talking about that. We can always double back if something else happens. I do know that Fanny Willis is appealing the removal, but I don't know. Do you think it's going to go anywhere? You think it's got any legs? Let
it rest, Fanny. Go ahead and take that win.
No,
it's merciful. It's a merciful for you.
Right.
It's a merciful L.
It's a merciful L. Oh, wait, Taylor, we need to talk about this. How are you streaming on X? Oh, we need to talk about that. Okay. Oh, we might need to talk about that.
Ooh.
I love it. Right. That might need to be under my Christmas tree. My content creator tree. Streaming on X. I love it. Well, you stay put, then we'll talk about it for sure. But let me real quick. Let's shut this down. Everybody, thank y'all again for hanging out with us. I appreciate y'all. If you don't mind, please make sure you stop by Todd Thinks and check out what he's doing over there, creating great content. And then also scoot on over there to Miss Umbridge's channel and check out what she's doing and become a part of the Taylor gang or the Todd Thinkers, think community, whatever. And of course, please don't hesitate to hit that like button on your way out. I thank y'all so much. Merry Christmas to you all. God bless. And I'll see you all real soon. Grace and peace.
Hit that like for a deal with Christian. Yo, for a deal with Christian. Smash that bell for DWC. Yo, smash it. Just smash it. Hit that like for a deal with Christian. For Deal Christian, smash that bell. For DWC, yo, smash it, just smash it. Hit that like for Deal Christian.